Before we get into it, I want to talk about it. The Midwest Business Small Business Confidence Survey. I launched this thing because I was not satisfied with the answers I was hearing from the media and others about how they thought small businesses were doing. It just didn't seem to ring true to me. It sounded like every time they talked about small business, they just talked about how bad we were all doing. And knowing all the folks inside the Idea Collective, I knew that wasn't the case. I knew some of us were doing pretty darn good and we were hanging in there while some of our other colleagues were doing terribly. And we feel for them and we're trying to put our arms around them and support them as well. But the other reason why this was so important to put out right now is that everything is changing. Now that the vaccine is taking hold and the virus is under control and we're starting to get some public policy changes, I really wanted to know what's going on with economic conditions and how are small business owners feeling with their confidence between now and the end of 21. And I just didn't see anyone getting this data, at least in our area. So I thought, you know what? We're going to put it in the field and we're going to see if this can not only be a one-time survey, but a survey that we can repeat moving forward so we can create a metric that people can look at and see how small businesses are doing. So we brought in two of the leaders of the Idea Collective to help interpret the data: Liz Watson, the strategic planner and leader on the Impact Trail, and Jennifer Buchholz, our lovable, engaging geek and founder of Excel and Flourish. So Liz is going to handle the qualitative part. JB is going to handle Liz is going to handle the qualitative. Who's doing qualitative? Who's doing quantitative? Liz, come on here and help me out. Liz, which part are you going to have, and why don't you present that information now?
The numbers, Pat, the numbers. So the quantitative. All right. Here we go. So we'll talk about the numbers first, and then Jennifer will give some additional insight on some of the open-ended questions that were asked throughout the survey. So at least to start, right, as Pat said, it was the Midwest Small Business Survey. So understandably, with our first one, right, with the Idea Collective based in Wisconsin, but we did have a few neighbors in Illinois and Minnesota jump in. So that was great to see. So of course, we'd want to expand that. So one of the questions really asked about the impact that the pandemic had on business operations. And I think to your previous point, Pat, this was really interesting because if you look at these numbers, looking at very positive all the way through very negative, boy, when you add up the very and the somewhat positives, you've got some big numbers there. You've got 49% that are feeling great, feeling good about things. And if you add neutral onto that, we're at 69%. So, right, in general, most people were saying, okay, yes, it had an impact, but saw it in a neutral to positive perspective. And one of the other questions was, so based on where your local economy is, how are you feeling? What do you think the economy will be by the end of the year? And again, here, if you look at those who said, hey, I think it's going to grow, or I think it's at least going to stay the same, if not get better and grow, if you combine those two, that's 82%, pretty fantastic. So yes, like Pat said, there certainly were small businesses that had some hard times through this. But I think a lot of the very small or micro businesses, we're seeing some good things come out of this. So the next question asked about confidence regarding that small business's revenue goal that they set for the year. So I thought this was interesting, kind of to see this scatter, because we had some all the way down to zero, right? Like, okay, absolutely, I'm not going to meet the revenue goals that I set for the year. All the way through up to the upper right corner of this graph, you'll see a whole bunch of 100s because they were asked on a scale from 0 to 100, what is your confidence? So this is interesting because there were dots all over the board with this. So people feeling less confident all the way through folks saying, oh, I'm definitely going to hit revenue goals. And related to that revenue, then it was, so for your revenue, how is it tracking? So Pat wanted to give the sense for the confidence, but then when you think about how it's tracking, this was interesting too, because if you combine those that thought, hey, my forecast is at or near what the goal was set, or it's above the average, again, combine, that's 66% of the respondents to the survey. So lots of goodness in the numbers. So now I'll switch it over to Jennifer to give a little insight on the context of some of the open-ended questions.
JB, before you jump in with that, can I ask you a question, Liz, real quick? It looks like if you go back 2 slides to the confidence, how do
Mm.
people feel about their goal right there to the goal slide? That's not a bell curve. There are way more people reporting 50% or better than there is
Right.
50% or below. But then
Mhm.
when you compare that to how they're doing so far, their results are showing that they're not at, a disproportional at or above their revenue, meaning it looks like people are more confident for how the rest of the year is going to go than how far the year has actually gone so far. Am I interpreting that correctly?
I think you're right, Pat. Exactly. Right. There's still 6 months left to go. And yeah, maybe so far it started well, but right, people are really seeing the potential for the second half of the year.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, thank you for that. JB, you want to jump in with some qualitative stuff here?
You betcha. So here are a couple of the qualitative questions. Um, New products, process, or method of delivery that you started that you're going to keep after the pandemic. So one example was a new delivery method where some sort of pet service, whether it was grooming or veterinarian, was doing pet only appointments. So again, just think about like how they can really just move things along. I'm not sure what that's like from the customer experience, but just again, it's a new thing and they're going to keep it after. A new product line, an example was operational leadership for small businesses. But what we saw more and more was just new tech. So Zoom for all the things, doing live virtual events, a lot of podcasting and videos, online courses, and for everybody in the real estate or home staging and stuff, it's the virtual home showings. So again, interesting to think they're talking about this is what's going to stay after as well. It's not just what we had to do. It's not how we had to pivot, but it's also what's going to continue after. Okay, so then we looked at how has coronavirus pandemic affected your business. So we definitely had, what we did was we took the results based on what they said, whether it was negative, neutral, or positive, and then we took it to applied it to their comments. So negative, devastating, 50% of 2019, essentially killed it. Major pivot, slowed down, lost customers due to their revenue downturns. So that was the negative side. Then we get to, Then we get to the neutral. So the neutral was that they started spending more time on marketing, the customer behavior shifted, and the market changed dramatically. And again, those results were coming with a neutral type of connotation that they set, not that we did when we did the evaluation. And finally, the positive. So many words around focus or refocusing, saying no, more intentional, a mindset shift, prioritization. Many said there was an expanded reach with more opportunities. There were a couple people in this particular survey that said, lost my job, started my business. They made deeper connections with their existing clients and made process improvements, especially with, again, all the tech that was being added. So these were some, again, we broke it down based on the negative, the neutral, and the positive. And then can you describe the current business climate? What factors are affecting your business and what are you watching for? So we had a wide variety here. Some companies had the best year ever. There's rebuilding. There's inconsistencies. I think there's still an ebb and flow. The business and economy seem to be slowly recovering. People are getting out, but there's caution. Travel is restarting and there's uncertainty and pent-up demand, not only for travel, but for a whole bunch of other things. Anybody in the events space right now is definitely starting to feel that push. Cautiously optimistic. And then on the flip side, hiring and finding staff is one of the biggest challenges we're hearing for a variety of reasons. Employees are going back to the office. We're hearing more and more of that, and the timeframes happening in the Milwaukee area for sure. And events are coming back to Wisconsin, live, outdoor, even maybe indoor events are actually starting to happen. So that's the crux of the qualitative stuff.
Now, if you go back 1 slide, JB, you'll see every other one of those has uncertainty baked in. So there's inconsistent, there's recovering, there's cautious, there's cautiously optimistic, there's going back to the office, there's the change in how people are gathering. There's a lot of change and uncertainty. So when I see that qualitative stuff and then compare it against this optimism that's there, I, that doesn't seem to line up to me. Does that surprise you at all to see the qualitative and the quantitative not necessarily align?
Well, keep in mind that there's a lot of people who aren't going to respond to the qualitative questions. If we looked, we probably had about 50% of the people who took the survey actually respond to the qualitative questions.
Okay, so
So
not
that
everyone.
may, right. So that may be some of the disproportion that you're sensing.
Okay, that's good. Liz, let's go back to you with the quantitative. What surprised you in this data? Did anything jump out at you that you weren't expecting?
Boy, honestly, I think you just captured it well, Pat, that seeing a lot of those comments, but still seeing that positive nature. I mean, I'm with you. I thought I expected to see some positives, but maybe I didn't expect to see so many positive results in the numbers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's exciting to see, and it's encouraging looking forward. JB, anything jump out at you as you sifted through either the quantitative or the qualitative?
Well, so Liz and I did put our heads together to like mutually nerd out on this, and that was a lot of fun. And it only made me think of like what else I really want to know. Like, I really want to know, what is the industry, and are they B2B or are they B2C? Like, the questions just kept coming, which is the fun part of playing with data.
Right.
And I know that the whole intent was to keep this super simple. We just wanted people to get in, get out, get their answers in. But I hope that by putting this stuff out there for people to see, we're going to start getting more people who want to participate in it, because this also could help them make meaning of some of the things that are going on around them. And again, not feel so lonely and isolated. So I just think this was a really great starting point.
And I think that's the right way to look at it. It is a starting point, because if I have my way, I would love to make this a monthly exercise, but this is where the whole idea collective part comes into it. I can't make this a regular, consistent exercise without help. So I'm looking for some distribution partners that have a group of people they could share this link with to help get some results in, because I think created by small business for small business, we could create an index and a real monthly piece of data that we could all value. Because as you sit here right now, if someone asked you the question, what percentage of small business owners do you think are positive about where the economy is going? I wouldn't have said 82%. I would have said, maybe 50, 60. I think we're feeling pretty good. 82% is a pretty clear indicator. And then a 69% net positive score about where we're headed in 2021. I mean, I think those two things are really, really powerful. And that's why we do these surveys. So if you want to be involved and help us get this survey out to more people, I'm talking with some other folks about maybe putting this out again in June, because I'd love to do a monthly series release of data so we can be more in control of the narrative around small business and where we are going. So thank you to Liz, and thank you to JB for your help today interpreting the data. I really, really appreciate it. All right. So before we sign off here and get off to the Quick Trip networking after party, we've got one more exciting thing. We're launching our new contest. So we like to put out a new contest every month with Quick Trip, because you know what? You should win stuff too. Why not? So it's our summer kickoff contest. We've got a $50 Quick Trip gift card. Like, imagine running through Quick Trip and a snack spree for $50. Like, that would be tasty and fun. Maybe just go straight to the beer cooler, whatever you're into. And we're going to give you a $50 Home Depot gift card for either your honey-do list or a cooler, or, a blow-up pool for the kids, whatever you need it for. But two really great gift cards to get what you need to make sure this summer is fun. And here's the catch. You got to enter to win. Like, that's it. There's nothing creepy or weird about the whole thing. You just got to go and put your name in the box, and you might win, because darn it, you deserve to win stuff too. So I put the link in the chat. Hit the link and enter the contest. We'll make a winner just after Memorial Day. Also, a reminder, if you're not a part of the Idea Collective yet, our good friend Jeff McCarthy, who's on the call, and our friends at Bank 59, they're offering a free year in the community. Just open a business banking account with them. If you want to learn more, hit bank59.com/Idea Collective, and you can get a free year in the community. So thanks to Bank 59 for their support. Also, thanks to Cosimo and JB and Liz for coming on today. The show, of course, sponsored by Bank 59, Serendipity Labs, and Quick Trip. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. We're off to the networking after party, and I'm sure we're going to hammer Cosimo with 1,000 more questions. Thank you for tuning into the Small Business Rally Point today. We'll see you next time.